Hello my fellow traders and welcome back to a market overview. I should apologize for the 1 day delay of this video, but I was a bit ill. I'm up again and of course you should get a market overview here from my desk. Now first of all, as always, we're looking at the spaghetti chart here, which is showing the relative strength of each and every of the major 8 currencies here. Meaning that if, for instance, the blue line here, the Australian dollar is moving up, it means that it is primarily stronger towards all of the other 7 currencies. And since we do want to trade currencies that are strong towards someone that are weak when we are going long, and of course we want to trade a weak towards a strong when we are going short, this is a very good scenario to look at. Now, if you have been noticing the market right now, you know, let's just have a quick look at the daily chart here. You know that, for instance, the oil, looking at the oil here, it is blazing upwards and have been doing so. That is both because there are some, the entire COVID-19 situation is a bit diminished, but also because there's a lot of supply issues. And meaning that the oil is going up, that should give us an indication that the commodity currencies should be going up as well. These are normally the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. And as you can see here, the Canadian dollar is very high upwards here. The Australian dollar also moving up. This is on a daily time frame. But strangely enough, the New Zealand dollar is moving down. There are several reasons for that. But just to show you that we cannot take it for granted that just because oil is moving up, we can go long in all of the currencies, the commodity currencies. We need to check up on that. Also, we can see that the dollar is moving up. It is in the upper territory here and it is moving upwards here. We can see that also on the green line here moving up. And one of the reasons, of course, for that is that when we look at the interest rate, this is the 10-year yield on the in the US government bonds here, you can see that it has really broken resistance here. We were on a weekly time frame in a downtrend here. Now we have been moving up and it has finally starting to give, meaning that something has been wrong for a while. The United States have been running with an inflation rate at 4 to 5%, and that's just the official rate. When you look to a bit more unofficial sources, the inflation rate might be quite a lot higher. But let's just take the 4 to 5% in official inflation rate. I think it's 5 point something right now. Now running with a 10-year yield down here towards 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 is not sustainable when you have an inflation of, let's say, 5.3%, because that means that you are in reality taking a negative interest rate on 4%. If your money is getting worth 5.4% less each year and you're getting 1.4% in interest, that means that the interest you are getting is not nearly enough to cover the inflation rate. And therefore, of course, either we have to see the inflation rate come severely down, that has not happened, or we would need to see the interest rate go up. And since the United States, the Fed, Powell, he was out at the latest FOMC meeting and said they will start their tapering here before New Year, then people have been starting to sell off in the bonds. We could, for instance, take the TLT here, which is the bond ETF here, and we can see that has been dropping quite a lot the latest days here. So that is also an effect of that. All right, but let's have a look at some of these. We can see, of course, that we can see that the yen and the Swiss franc is turning down. And that is a bit strange since they are normally the currencies that you would turn to, or that the investors turn to when the market is a bit in turmoil. And when we're looking at the indices right now, we can have a look at, for instance, here, the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is down, the S&P is down, and the S&P is actually forming a new lower high right now. and the Nasdaq is as well. So we might be getting lower even here. And in situations like this, we normally tend to see that the Japanese yen and the Swiss franc is moving upwards. But that is not the case right now. On a 4-hour time frame, the yen is getting a bit traction here, but on the overall daily time frame, they are turned down, and that is a bit strange, to be honest. Euro has just clicked a bit up here, so this is not a normal, typical scenario, not at all. When we're looking at the different Forex here, oh yes, here you can see I have one position open right now. It is a short in Australian Canadian dollar, and it is simply taken based on this clear resistance area here. I took it here yesterday. It has wobbled a bit back and forth, but let's see if we can get it really to drop down. As I said right now, the Australian dollar is moving quickly upwards here. So is the Canadian dollar actually. So I have I teamed it down here. So the Australian dollar is weaker than the Canadian dollar, but they're both moving upwards. So let's hope that the Australian dollar will get a click down, so my position can go a bit more in the positive territory. But looking here at the when we are going back here, we are looking at the DXY here, the dollar index, and that is on a weekly, on a daily, on a 4-hour, and on a 1-hour time frame. We can see that the DXY, the dollar index, have been forming on a weekly time frame a kind of a cup with handle here, like this, and it is right now breaking to the upside. And if it can break this for real, then there is a lot of more upside in the DXY, if we should believe our technical analysis. Also looking here, the yen is dropping quite dramatically actually. We can see the pound has been dropping, but I have found a bit of resistance down here, so I am actually mostly to the upside in the pound. We have the Australian dollar, which have been dropping as well, but might be forming a new higher low here. We have the New Zealand dollar, which is going down as we saw. We have the Canadian dollar, have found some bottoming here and is moving upwards, might be moving up quite a lot. And we have the euro, which is always also dropping. So right now, if you're into the euro dollar, personally, I would definitely look to short that, simply because that euro is very weak and the dollar is gaining some strength. Finally, we have the Swiss franc here, also in a downtrend, and as I said, it is a bit peculiar why that is happening, but there are of course a lot of fundamentals playing in here. Now if we go to our list here of the different crosses here, let's just see the pairs. As I said, I am right now short in the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. I actually took one here as well, where I was stopped out for 1 R, meaning 1% in the negative. But right now this hopefully will be moving down, and I am at least aiming for 1.5 R, but it might be able to go down. Let's just have a quick look at the charts here. We do have a bottom back from here, and this might actually be able to go all the way down here, meaning I can make 2.5 R, so I'm kind of hoping for that. I have my target at 1.5 R here, but I might be moving it at some point. Alright, if we're looking at some of the obvious pairs, if we have, for instance, the dollar going up and some of the commodity currencies going up, but the euro, the Swiss and the yen going down, we could have a look at something like the dollar yen. Now, as you can see, the dollar is strong, the yen is weak, and what I'm looking for, you can see the break up. We have been in a long consolidation phase here. If you're looking at this, it has been chopping up and down, and now it has broken up. You could say that it might hit some sort of top here, and I cannot completely say that it won't, but what I'm looking for in a scenario like this, if we're going to the 4-hour time frame, is that I'm looking at some distinct tops here, something like this. So what I'm looking for here before I enter is a breakdown to this point here, and then some resistance, some showing that it will up. it will go up from there. And I normally time that on a daily, on a 1 hour time frame. Actually, here we saw something on a 1 hour time frame that we didn't see so clearly on the 4 hour, and that was after the break. It went down here, and I could actually have argued that it should be possible to take here in the morning. That was yesterday. To be honest, I didn't see this one. I was not focusing enough on the 1 hour time frame, but I could easily have taken it on this one or on the bounce from the 20 SMA here. So there was a couple of good trades. This was in the middle of the night, but this one I could easily have justified. That is, however, very easy to see in hindsight, as most trading is. We also know that the Swiss is low and the dollar is high, so if we are teaming these up, well, we are seeing a kind of the same picture here. We are seeing the uptrend, and here you can actually see a bit more clearly. It's breaking the trend here, it's going down, finding some resistance. If we are looking at the 4 hour time frame here, we could have taken it here if we were looking at these tops here. Definitely could have taken it here. What I was actually waiting for here was a setup where it was breaking up, and as you can see, I draw in this area. So I was waiting for this area to be tested before it went up. But as you can see, it actually went a bit too far down. So what I'm looking for in a trend is a very distinct pattern where I'm looking at this top, and it has to be tested before I take it. If, as in this case, it goes up and then goes too far down before it turns around, then I don't take it. Then the trend is not strong enough in my opinion. As you can see here, if we go back, let's see if we can find a good example, maybe on the long or the short. It could be something like this that I normally take, where we have some distinct bottoms here. They are tested here. We could have taken it here. It might be that I didn't because it went too far up, but then it went down here, as you can see, went up, testing this area once again and got rejected massively. Then I have no problem taking a short here with a stop loss somewhere up here and a normally a 1.5 to 1 in reward to risk, something like that. So that is what I'm looking for, and right now they're not too many setups like these in the market. So as I say, I am only in one currency right now, or in one pair, sorry, and that is of course the short Aussie CAD. If we are looking at that from that perspective, let me just find the 4 hour time frame here. As you can see, we had the bottom here, it shot up. I was actually in a trade here as well. I took this one down as well, so that was a good profit. Then it got up to a resistance, just like the same again here. And I took it, let me see, I took it somewhere here, got stopped out, but then I took it again. It seems like it keeps banging its head against this resistance. So let's see if I am lucky enough that it can go this way. This is a numbers game, so I have no way of predicting where it will go. I can simply just say that I have a good, well back-tested strategy. It's working very well, and I know that in the long run I am making money with this setup. So you can keep an eye on it, and you can keep an eye on some of the strong and the weak currencies and see if you can find a good match here. That's all for today. Happy trading out there, and take care of yourself and your money. I'll talk to you again shortly. Bye.